Warning. In accordance with U.S. Code 1984, we are required to inform you, the audience, that the following content has not been reviewed by the Department of Homeland Security's Board of Disinformation Governance. As such, it may contain disinformation. In the event that said disinformation proves to be true, no retraction or re-review will occur. You have been warned.
Man Tools is brought to you by EXO AutoWorks. EXO AutoWorks is Colorado Springs' home of the $40 synthetic blend oil change. Call now, 719-375-3232, or visit exoautoworks.com to make your appointment.
Call us today in order to schedule your $80 wheel alignment on most vehicles.
Enharmonic Studios. Enharmonic Studios is a hybrid digital analog facility designed to be quality and affordable to anyone who wants to make history. Call today, 719-963-2020, or go to facebook.com/Enharmonic Studios. Trevor's Beard is brought to you by The Beard Struggle. The Beard Struggle is my go-to for beard hygiene and styling products, so you should click the link below and use the code TLANE15, that's TLANE15, for 15% off your order. Madrid Maintenance. Madrid Maintenance offers excellent handyman services in the Colorado Springs area, starting at just $35 an hour. You can reach them by phone at 719-963-2020 or online at facebook.com/Madrid Maintenance. The Toolbar, our new line of handmade soap produced in partnership with Crafts by Carolyn Lane, available on Etsy. This soap packs a punch of manly scent, like oak and fig, fresh-cut lumber, cedar, and more masculine fragrances being developed all the time. With a soft touch of natural oils to cleanse and moisturize, use the link below to buy the Toolbar now. Once you try it, you'll never want to wash with anything else.
From EXO Auto Works. Streaming all over the world. It's your weekly dose of toxic masculinity. With Eric Madrid.
Because if too many people are just running around with their dicks out, it's called the Harambe variant.
And Trevor Lane.
No. To Karen's.
It's Man Tools.
Welcome back to another exciting Thursday evening. It's Man Tools Media on the twatters and on the YouTubes and the OnlyFans.
No, we don't have an OnlyFans yet.
Why not?
I don't know.
We got a click clock.
We do have a TikTok, yes.
My mom was poor when we were growing up. I had to have twonkies. Couldn't have the real thing, so that's what we were talking about today.
Hey Hays instead of ho-hos.
Hey Hays instead of ho-hos, right? Diet Shasta Orange. That was a staple. We even got fake ramen. It was like Roman. That's how broke we were. Oh, that's all right. That's all right. We talk about financial stuff here on Man Tools.
Sometimes, yeah.
Sometimes. Talk about relationship stuff on Man Tools.
Sometimes, yeah.
But mostly, we just talk about dumb shit.
That is correct.
That's my favorite.
Yep.
Right? How they let us have a room and microphones and an internet connection. Neither one of us have been taken out with a sniper rifle yet is beyond me. No idea.
I don't either.
Well, it's because you know, everybody who hates us is against guns. Like keyboard warriors.
Yeah.
Super keyboard warriors. I get a lot of emails in all caps. Does that count?
As what?
Like getting my ass capped?
I guess, yeah.
It's a thing.
Keyboard capped?
Keyboard capped. That's right. Gangster. Some gangster shit. That wireless keyboard. Some gangster shit over there. Can you tell I'm a little salty?
A little bit.
A little salty.
Yeah,
just a little salty. I don't know. We've tried to make this not a He-Man Woman Haters Club, but man, I'm fucking getting there soon.
There are times.
I'm getting there soon.
There are times, yeah.
There are days. There are days, which is funny because our demographic is women 35 to, 90 or whatever. They too have internet connections.
That is correct, yes.
Maybe they should find us on YouPorn. Or would it be Yo Porn?
Can you live stream there?
I don't know.
I know you can on OnlyFans. We could totally start doing that.
We really should, just for the sake of being pricks.
Sure.
Like somebody stumbles onto it and I was like, "Ooh, Man Tools, what is this?" And then I don't know why I did it in a gay voice. Well, because only men.
No.
Yeah. Pay for shit on that.
Either way, the customers are men on Man.
Either way,
on OnlyFans.
Let's just be real. Let's just be real. They're like, "Ooh, Man Tools." Yeah, sucker them into listen to our banter.
Yeah.
They'll get through like 30 minutes and then be like, wait.
Just sitting there like, when
is it happening? When is it happening? When is it happening? Not yet. Yeah, dude, we're the, that's pretty funny. What is that thing called? We're the ultimate edging podcast. We will never get you there, I promise.
Edging with Man Tools.
Yeah, speaking of not getting there, let's get on with it.
All right. We do have a guest this evening. I guess we can pop him in now. We're going to bring him in.
Has he signed the waiver?
Yes, he did.
Sucker.
And I'm going to do the speaker,
There
not
you
the
go.
microphone,
Yeah, there you go.
to turn his audio on and pop him up here on the screen.
One of these days.
Welcome, Noah Martin from Retrospection Radio. How you doing, my friend?
You know, it's a great, it's nice. It's 9:40 at night, you know, a little bit tired. Can hear the highway off in the distance. It's nice and dark, but it's bright enough in my room.
Yeah. If the audience out there is wondering about how you're so good at setting a scene like that, it's because one of the things you do on Retrospection Radio is audio drama.
Yeah, I am all about telling stories. And so I started when I was a senior in high school because I was a part of a theater troupe and was just getting so fed up with the leaders and the people around. And I said, okay, well, I like writing, I like acting, I like doing all these things. I'm just going to do it myself. I don't need them. And so I started listening to classic old-time radio stuff, War of the Worlds, Orson Welles, all that. And eventually I started writing my own audio dramas and kept at it for a while. I've done a lot of different things, interview stuff, history stuff. I did a live radio talk show for a while that is on there. Right now I'm doing a mini series of the history of audio drama and how that came to be and the whole 9 yards. A lot of history stuff, a lot of mental health stuff, a lot of stories that are possibly taboo for most people. It's a good way to get out not only my feelings but also the message that people sometimes don't get to hear when they watch movies or television shows or something like that because of the medium that podcasting is and the opportunity it provides for singular creators to be able to get out there and actually have a voice and not just be, you know, not just be shut down by the next Marvel movie or the next Star Wars movie or whatever else Disney throws out or, you know, Netflix or whatever the big corporations are. Podcasting allows that good voice.
Yeah.
Opportunity.
It's it's interesting. I was listening to your most recent couple episodes. So I caught one on the history of this part of the series of the history of audio dramas, where you were talking about kind of when podcasting became the format that those started taking place in.
Yeah.
And you know, we were talking before we went on how at one time we were on what was known as an internet radio station. Needless to say, those aren't really a thing anymore.
Nope. It was like the 8-track.
But and similarly, it seems like audio drama has found a new home in the podcast format, and I think that speaks to, I mean, the flexibility. Basically, anything audio that you want to put out, you have a home if you want to.
Yeah, I mean, we've seen from 2019, Spotify had 500,000 individual podcasts on it, and that was Spotify alone. By 2020, that number increased even more because everyone was sitting at home with the whole lockdown stuff, and it became a hobby for a lot of people. Now, a lot of podcasts, now it's 2 years past, have died out because people had to go back to work and live their lives again. But we still saw a huge rise in indie podcasters over the course of the past 2 years, and it's been growing for 20 years anyways. And so it's just a great form of media that it's just awesome.
Yeah. And it you know, I mean, it doesn't matter what someone wants to get out through it either. Like, you're not bound by like the old FCC regulations. Basically, if your audience will put up with it,
you're not.
You know, you
the
can,
old Miller
you can
test
say it.
doesn't apply anymore. Which,
Oh,
yeah, that one used to get me every time. Every time. Do you know the Miller test?
I don't, but I know you two, because I was talking to Noah before the show started. He comes from a very similar background. Did a lot of college radio, just like you.
Yeah. So we had to learn all the fancy terms, right?
Oh yeah, it was. That was the first thing that they told us in class was, all right, now there's a George Carlin's dirty words you cannot say online. And also, if there's any references to sexual activities, then absolutely not. And then the teacher or the professor proceeded to play Monty Python Sit on My Face.
Yep.
Which is not allowed on the radio.
Yeah, we had the after 10 p.m. disclaimer. We're fortunate to get away with that, but if you tried to play Soundgarden's Big Dumb Sex, before 10 o'clock at night, you were fucked.
Yeah, I mean, even at 10 o'clock at night, they ease some of the regulations, but they still will come down on you, depending on your area, I guess, and how the FCC
it does. It's kind of to the Miller test, because the Miller test is your broadcast area for your community. And that's one of the qualifications, has to have viability, politically or spiritually or, artistically for your community. Which is weird, because then what I found interesting is that basically terrestrial radio died a horrible death with Bob and Tom. Because those guys are terrible, and they're syndicated. They are the morning show for everywhere across the United States. And they're not funny, and I guess they were just cheap, affordable.
Well, I would argue it really started when Stern and Opie and Anthony went to satellite. That's when terrestrial radio started, and now even satellite. It's like, what are you guys doing?
Yeah,
just do a podcast.
Yeah, you're doing podcasts. To get where I was going with that, the only place I've been is South Bay that has radio dramas still going over the airwaves. And it was public access channel, of course, so people you're subscribed to it, and that was the best. Friday afternoons were the only time in that 4-hour traffic going 10 miles were the best, because you listen to all the radio dramas, and they would recreate some, and they'd have people come in and write new ones. Are you doing like a whole bunch of? Are you recreating older pre-written radio dramas, or are you creating your own, or a little bit of both?
A little bit of both. As of right now, I haven't done any of the classic ones because copyright is a weird thing. And so when it comes to copyright, audio is copywritten differently than the actual scripts for audio dramas, which is very, very strange. And most of those scripts didn't actually have copyright. And if they did, it went out in the 60s, which you would have been able to renew, but if you renewed that before, the 80s or 90s, when Disney lobbied against the government, then by now that copyright is done. So I'm looking at different scripts, of course, War of the Worlds, because that's what originally got me into it in the first place. But all these different scripts that are now public domain, or if they're not public domain, then the owners don't care enough about it. Like a lot of CBS broadcasting stuff, I mean, CBS makes no money off that. They don't resell them, any of that stuff. Shadow Knows, can't do Shadow Knows. They're still republishing those scripts in books. But it's a very weird line to cross and walk around, because some things are still copyrighted, and if they find you, then you pay out the wazoo, and if not, then... But I started my first 2 seasons with kind of randomized stuff. Every story was its own episode. 3rd season, kind of the same thing, but a little bit more anthological. There's a little bit of reference to different seasons and different episodes that have happened. And this season, I decided to do basically a standalone story arc, where I've seen an increase in listenership because of it. Because, everyone likes their episode of the week type stuff, but when you have an actual full storyline to listen to with character arcs, and it just draws attention a lot more. So I'm probably going to keep doing that, but I'll definitely still be releasing those one-off episodes. Right now I'm working on what I call a movie, where it's just going to be about an hour and a half, minimal voice actors, but tell a full, complete story, and then I can just throw that online and people can listen to that.
So
Don't mind me.
Yeah, I'm like trying to watch you, but I can't.
Don't do that.
Trevor's playing with stuff.
No. Talk to the guest. Keep talking to the guest.
Well, if you need any voice acting, don't hire Trevor.
Thanks, homie.
For some reason, he talks in the microphone. His nasal passages come through and nothing else.
Hopefully that's improving.
Yeah.
I got some medicine that I think will help with that.
I tried to do the ACX thing where you, you know what I'm talking about. You log in and you read the books or whatever. Da da da.
Oh,
I actually started in recording doing my Eagle Scout project, and my Eagle Scout project was to record 1,000 hours of books to cassette for the Colorado Springs Deaf and Blind School. Obviously, the deaf kids didn't get it much out of it, but years and years later, I went back and remembered that after my mom had passed, and I had gotten like neighbor kids, my mom, like her friends, all these people to read these books. I had to get all the copyright stuff from the publishers, like write them letters and do all that jazz. And some of them said no, and most of them were very apt to like, yeah, sure, there were no, books on tape weren't a thing, and at that point, not really. So they were like, yeah, sure, do it, which is pretty awesome. I went back and found a couple of old cassettes that, like 20 years later. So I got those. I'm going to put them on digital at some point and, do that now. But it's come full circle because now I'm mostly in the studio doing audiobooks for authors. It's so bizarre. It just comes full circle. And podcast editing, or at least mastering, and doing ads and stuff for that. So talking about that financial thing, kids, there are ways to make some money. You can go to ACX and create an account and read some copy for somebody, and they get you some gas money.
Yeah, I started once I first got into audio dramas and making my own. I went out and got a $15 Walmart microphone and started doing LibriVox stuff because everything they do is public domain. And so I just kept doing that over and over again, getting practice through that. I'd audition for like free audio dramas, like volunteer-based work, and just kept going from there. It's a nice ride, especially because I like the public domain works so much because the stories belong to the people. It just makes them a bit more personable to me, that I spend a lot of time doing that. When it comes to making money, podcast editing is awesome and lucrative, especially with how much podcasting has grown in the past 2 years, like I said. So I just graduated college I don't know, 18 days ago. That's what it was. Honestly, it already feels like I've been out for 2 years. Like I was ready to leave college when I started college, but I've been out for about 18 days. And a week before I ended, I've been slowly building this podcast towards a multimedia production company. I've been doing stuff here and there, graduation photos, a lot of photography and audio-based stuff, and eventually got a job for podcast editing and video editing and graphic design and the whole 9 yards. And my passions are audio, video, storytelling. And so I'm now working freelance doing exactly what I've always wanted to do. And something I've learned about podcast editing is, first off, it's awesome. I love sitting down for an hour or two to just edit, add in music, sometimes write my own music or make people's voices sound better, any of that. And it's just a really good time to do that.
Well,
podcasting is so much fun.
Do me a favor and email Tom Morello for his podcast because I've emailed him like 3 times, and I'm like, bro, your backing music versus your spoken word microphone. Holy Jesus! It blew out one of the tweeters in the van. I was like, level your volumes, bro. You need to call him and get it done for him. Like, I'll even give you a reference. I'll be like, yeah, hire this dude for reals. Because it's like this. It's like, I'm Tom Morello, and you're listening to da-da-da-da. And the music comes in, you're like, fuck. Speakers are blown. Yeah, you need to work on his. Get on that team.
That's one of the things I've learned about from, like, if you go back and listen to my very, very first episode released January 25th, 2018, when I was 18 years old, just about to graduate high school, it's awful. I used Pinnacle Studio, a video editor, to do it, and it's not an audio podcast. It's not an audio editor either, and so it sounds awful. And now I've done some tweaks to it over the years, but I mean, I had that $15 Walmart microphone. My parents had a crawl space, and I just threw up moving blankets in the crawl space and threw in a chair and a desk and said, all right, here we go. So audio is just genuinely terrible for it. And over the past years, I mean, over the college experience, I've learned audio editing and leveling and how to even level in the first place. And that stuff is really important, because if you don't do it, then you get your ears blown out, and nobody wants to listen to your podcast if you cannot hear it anymore.
Yep. That's true. It's I tried to explain to somebody music. They were like, well, it just sounds really good. I'm like, yeah, because it's not confusing. It's mixed properly. You're listening to a mastered, fully produced song, and then you're jumping over on your Spotify playlist to an indie artist who did it in a crawl space with some blankets and a cheap microphone. The passion is still there for both of them, but your brain is like, I'm confused. What's happening? I don't understand. Your brain is telling you, no, I don't want to listen to this. This is terrible. Yeah. And so,
well, it's funny with music. Some genres pride themselves on that, like black metal.
Yeah. Oh,
they're like, dude, production.
Get me started.
No. We're gonna take a cassette deck.
Yeah.
With a built-in microphone and hit record.
Yep. I actually got fired from a record label because I let the artist produce the record, and they're like, put reverb on everything. I'm like, guys, that's not a good idea. And they're like, no, fucking do it. It'll be awesome.
We want reverb on the drums.
Everything.
Get the kick drum.
Everything.
No.
So it was just drenched. It was soaking wet, like coming out of the lake, half in the lake. And then the guy calls. He's like, what the hell is this? I was like, well, they sent you the demo. He's like, no, they said this is done. I was like, well, maybe you should have talked to me first. And he's like, you're fucking fired. I'm like, no, that was their demo. I gave that to them for their experience. He's like, they already released it. And I'm like, well, you're the record label. How'd they release it? They already put it up online. I was like, well, that's not on me. You owe me $1,700. Fuck off. Yeah, it was bad. It was really bad.
Yeah, I did a year of audio production and music production, and that was one of the things the professor said was, all right, we're going to start off by listening to a song, and you probably know the song, and then you're going to get the files, and you're going to make it sound like what it sounds like on Spotify. And that was not easy, but it was a great way of, being thrown into the deep end, just really helped to learn, because you're right, it has so much work that goes into music production, where like I had the opportunity to be the video editor for a music video, and it was fun to do anyways. But I talked with the audio engineer afterwards and asked him, like, hey, what were some of the things that you put on to help with her voice? What were some of the things you did to help with music and all of that? And he just went through and showed me everything that he did, which was generally much different from the way that I go around music and audio, which is very eye-opening that everyone has these different ways of going about making music, but at the end, the final product still sounds awesome.
That is the best truism I've ever heard. I've always said, like bands come and vet the studio and they come and check it out. They want to hang out, whatever. And the last thing I talk about is money. That's the very last thing. Like, try to bring it up. I waylay them and talk about other stuff. The biggest thing is how do you guys work? Do you want to smoke weed all day and then capture lightning in a bottle in the last 30 seconds of your day, of your budget, the last hour? That's awesome. Go to Bill Douglas at Royal Recording and hang out with him. He will do that job for you and do it really well, because he'll sit around, smoke weed with you all day, and then capture lightning in a bottle. It's about the vibe of the producer. If you want to get yelled at and screamed at and like thrown shit at, go talk to Steve Albini. Like, he'll fucking throw candle wax at you and make you work harder. It's about your vibe and how you want to go about doing it. And then it comes into like the techniques of actual pieces of hardware or software or whatever. And it's so bizarre because if you listen to a Nirvana record, like a Butch Vig record, and then you listen to, or let's just take this for example. Everybody knows the Nirvana record, the Nevermind. There was the Ken Andrews mixes, which are the ones that made it on the radio and are now legendary. And then often less heard, are the Butch Vig mixes, the guy who produced the record. Not that much different, but a world apart. An absolute world apart. You're like, oh, it's the same song. Yeah, but there's this little here and this little here. Anyway, I digress. This isn't a music podcast. But we could nerd out all day on this stuff. Okay, so I've got a buddy who does audio capture for movies, big movies.
Oh.
And we always have the argument, and I want to see where you're at with this, because you're in a unique position. He does full-on movies like Shutter Island and big ass movies. I do shitty local bands like In Elements and whatever. On the preamp side, god dang, Trevor, you're just on the preamp side. He likes super clean, so no colorization from the audio interface or the hardware or anything. So the purest of pure sound. So he tries to get like the cleanest mic that doesn't have a tube in it, doesn't have any kind of saturation, doesn't have any EQ. Mm-hmm. The preamp is totally digital, just a volume, booster. And then the music guys like stuff with character in it, like Neve preamps. Like, I've searched, and it's been 15 years tracking down preamps and putting them in the studio. So where do you fall doing what you do, because it's a different creature?
So it's a great question. It goes both ways and depends on what I'm trying to do. When it comes to the audio dramas, I will use what I get. I'm using an AKG C214 right now, which is a pretty good microphone. But I like to collect microphones and various other audio supplies, and sometimes they're not the greatest. I have an old trucker radio that I left at my parents' house that's from, I think, 1952, 1953, and the sound quality sounds very classic audio drama, except there's, if you have any plosive whatsoever, it'll explode. And so, for me, I like that. I like having the character to the microphone and to the interfaces in general, because when you have that character, it makes it feel more authentic. I can understand wanting to have it clean, and I think if I were to be doing music, I'd want as clean as I can get, because I'm very much so a post-production person, at least when it comes to video. I'd rather shoot wide and in 4K so I can post-production zoom and edit and do whatever I need to there. But for audio, I like character.
I was gonna say
character
though too,
gives a detail.
Like, bringing it in clean, you can always add something to it. Do you know what I mean? And I'm sure that's the argument.
That's the argument from his end.
If I ever want to put something on it, I can.
It's like perfectly pristine.
But if it comes in with that, it's like, well, it's there.
And that's my thing.
Getting rid of it.
I like to commit. I'm like, okay, your voice sounds like this. Like Robot Peanut Butter, I sent her through an old harmonica microphone that was kind of beat to shit. So it's got that sort of honky, nasally, on fire sound. Mm-hmm. And made her sing all the choruses with it. And She's like, that's just you. I was like, yeah, I could have done it with an EQ and a plug-in, but it was way more fun to do it with a broken down old Shure microphone. So yeah, I dig it. I like the character. I like to commit. So doing live dramas, we used to do some of that stuff in college, and I like seeing where it goes. Sometimes, with the script, you get people who, they like read it wrong, So the most famous that I remember, not in my whatever, was That 70s Show, where Kitty, the mom, read the script, read it wrong, and then played that character and got the part because she read a section of where the kids were describing her. Like, that's how they saw her. So then she shows up playing Kitty like that, and they're like, yep, fucking just do it. Just go for it. It wasn't even the way she was supposed to, play that role. But, so I like when things that happen live and they get a little wonky, and then like I say, somebody plays the character wrong. I mean, I wouldn't want the president of the United States to have a British accent. You know what I mean? Like, it's
there's an element too, like with doing something like audio dramas live. Maybe someone's on the wrong page. And to see the cast have to like adapt to. Well, bam. Well, I guess we're doing this part of the story now.
I think there's a Frasier episode that dealt with that. I think he did one, or the writers did a live radio drama for Frasier, and it all went to it all went Frasiered up. Yeah.
There's a scene in Almost Famous. I know, going way out of the way here, but I figured you probably know Almost Famous.
The story of Cameron Crowe.
Exactly. Yep.
Yeah.
And so there's a scene in Almost Famous where he's right outside with Penny Lane. I think it was the Fictional Bands concert, whatever they were called. And
Sweetwater or
she
whatever.
asked him,
Was it
like,
Sweetwater?
hey, do you want to go here? And the actor just genuinely was like, ask me again. Because he didn't know what the line
Ask me
was.
again.
And it made it into the movie.
Yeah.
And it's a really heartfelt, good moment, and it seems like he's in character because he as an actor forgot, but his character probably was relatively nervous at that moment,
right.
And might have said that too. I don't know.
I know.
Authenticity.
I love that stuff. I absolutely love it. Stillwater.
Well, and if you forgot your line, I'm sure you're just as that conjures up the same kind of nervousness as a little kid who's maybe about to go somewhere with a pretty girl.
Yep, that's right. Stillwater, I think.
Yeah.
I'm a golden god.
Yeah.
I love the part where they're talking about the mojo. You can do a whole sheet of paper in 18 minutes. Weird tangent. Watch the documentary that came out a year or two ago about all the writers for Rolling Stone. All the guys.
Whoa.
Yeah. What was it? Jim Fong Torres was like one of the original writers, and Bob Wells, all those guys. It's a great documentary. I watched it yesterday. I was like, oh, this is amazing.
I'll put that on my list of to watch, which I actually do have a list for.
Nice. It was super good. I don't know. Documentary TV and the new Star Trek are like the best things out there right now.
Oh, Strange New Worlds?
Yes.
Yeah.
I got all the feels. I did. There were a bunch of callbacks, and I realized we're in the new universe.
Yeah.
Kelvin.
Yeah.
Or is it a new Kelvin, or like is there another universe after that?
I don't know, man.
It's in the
Discovery
Eric fucked with the timeline universe.
Yeah, they're in Eric Bana came back and wrecked shop universe, and then / Discovery went and did a whole bunch of shit they shouldn't have done.
When this is way off on a tangent. When they first announced Discovery, I'm like,
yeah, me too. I was like, oh,
they're gonna mess with stuff that's gonna conceivably change stories, and I'm like, that's gonna be a problem.
I just got my notebook out. I was like, I gotta have to timeline this shit out. Like, where are we at? How's this tying with Picard?
does it even tie in with Picard at all?
Picard was trying to head sort of that way to fuck up the Romulans, and Spock didn't make it in time to save their planet. That's like the only arc. It's like the only little... Yeah.
So
basically they could do whatever the fuck they want, as long as at the end of Picard, Spock fucks up and doesn't, he gets stuck in traffic and he doesn't make it over and save Romulus.
So Star Trek went down this strange route where, or at least I find this interesting as a historical and storytelling perspective, where Star Trek, you had your original series and you had Next Gen, and all of those got movies, except for Voyager or Deep Space Nine or Enterprise, but they don't count.
They don't.
I like Voyager.
They don't count.
And then you get the reboot and the Kelvin stuff, and you have all the actors for those movies, but they don't translate to the television shows.
Right.
And so effectively you have two people playing Kirk at the same time, or you have two people playing Spock at the same time. And I feel like it misses a little bit of its character, its genuineness, because at least to me, what made the films so much fun was that I could then go watch the TV show afterwards.
Right.
And that's what I did most of the time.
And
so the films kind of missed that point of, like, Discovery doesn't have a movie. I feel like it probably would. I didn't finish Discovery, but like Brave New Worlds probably won't get a movie either.
No.
And I think that's one thing where Marvel is hitting the nail on the head a little better, because there's not the separation of the TV shows from the movies. If a character appears in the TV show, it's played by the person who played them in the movie. You know what I mean? Like, if Iron Man shows up, it's Robert Downey Jr. The end. Whether it's a TV show or if Cap shows up, it's fucking Chris Evans. That
Well, I think they had the money to. Well, not that Paramount doesn't have the money to pull it off. I just think I agree with you wholly, because the callbacks from the movies to the show are awesome. Like, backstory on so and so because Worf fucked that one bitch on that one planet, and now he's like kind of salty about this, and then you realize that that's what he's doing in the movie.
I think some of that too is because when like the Kelvin movies came out, there was still the stigma of, once you do movies, it's like, well, I'm not going back to TV.
The money,
you know what I mean?
And this, yeah.
And I think the streaming services have kind of busted that. They're like, no. It's just as lucrative. Here's a giant pile of money.
Here's a giant pile of cash.
Come do our TV show.
Did you ever see What We Left Behind?
I did not.
Oh, the documentary on
What We Left Behind.
Trevor, it's a documentary on Deep Space Nine, and not ruining anything really. The main thrust of that was, had Deep Space Nine come out during the streaming, it would probably be the #1 Star Trek show.
Interesting.
Because of the huge story arcs and the huge storytelling. And I mean, you've seen all Deep Space Nine, right?
I have not. I've gotten like 3 episodes in, and I know it's Star Trek. You've got to give it a little bit more time. But my brother and I used to do Voyager every year, rewatch the entire series. And so
DS9 is
that's kind of
harder to watch. It's easier to binge.
And that's what they were getting
at. And that's what they're getting at.
Streaming it would have been great.
Yeah, they kept moving the time slots. They did the same thing to Firefly, and Firefly got fucked after 1 season. So they did the same thing to that. So I remember, like, oh, who's this Benjamin Sisko guy? I'm like in a Kmart. I'm a kid. I'm looking at the TVs in the TV section going, oh, this is cool. And I watched the first episode of Deep Space Nine at the Kmart. And I was like, oh, we got to watch this. And then didn't see it until basically it was on DVD. Because you couldn't find it ever. It was on too late at night. It was on middle of the day. They jacked up. I
think it's interesting. As much as I don't like Disney, the idea that Marvel has brought about has completely revolutionized the way that we, as the people, as viewers, enjoy entertainment. Where there needs to be, season-long story arcs. Long gone are the days of a cowboy riding into town, solving a singular issue, and then going off to the next episode to do it all over again.
You mean The
And
Mandalorian?
instead, yeah, well,
Ah,
that's why I didn't like
with the
Mandalorian,
background
too.
story arc. Yeah. Basically, it's the old westerns.
Yeah, and it also has a lot of samurai to it.
Oh yeah.
Especially in the music, which is very interesting, but digress. So Marvel went into the idea of Iron Man and all of that after the failure of the Hulk movies. I would assume in the way of, it'd be nice to eventually in 15 years make this a whole Infinity War thing, but right now let's make a solid movie where you can watch and understand what the characters are. That's what they did for most of.
Well,
you know,
you have to understand
all
who
of
the
that.
you have to understand who the storytellers were, right? You're looking at the Hulk, the one with the only good thing about it was Jennifer Connelly, because Eric Bana, you're like, man, you know, Dr. Drake Ramore basically is the Hulk. You're like, I can't buy it. I just can't swallow it. You're a little younger than I am. I remember Eric Bana as a soap opera actor, and then he's trying to be the Hulk. You're like, no, this isn't going to work. And then you've got Edward Norton, who takes creative control over everything and really just kind of shit goes sideways. And then you've got a guy who's a super fan, huge fan, right? Who wants to make modern westerns. I'm going to jab on you on that one. You know, you got Jon Favreau, who shows up and wants to tell great stories. And here you have Iron Man, assembled the right people, had the right story, fucking went to the moon, created a whole universe. You know?
Yep.
So I guess my
That's
thing
where-
is like when fans, like super fans, write and create, you know, and then give the opportunity to keep the integrity, like you were saying, of the old Star Trek stuff, right? Keep that integrity, not just dump it on the next J.J. Abrams guy. Like, oh, he did Star Wars, let's let him do Star Trek too. It's like, dude, no. We're gonna have lightsabers and phasers on stunt. What the fuck? This is messing with me. You can't do this to me. Let super fans, you know, get to a point where they can do it and let them do it, because we have the Marvel universe now.
And that's why everything else we've seen has failed, is because the movies, the money that was in Marvel wasn't really there in the beginning. Like, it had the fans, but also it appealed to an average moviegoer. And, you know, average moviegoers can be Marvel fans, but a lot of times they're just normal people. And, well,
they are not comic book nerds who grew up with it. They were taking their kids to see, oh yeah, Iron Man, yeah, Black Sabbath, yeah. You know what I mean? The disconnect is there. But they took their kids to see it, and now those kids are now, you know, helping make those movies. You know, this has been a long push.
Yeah.
For this stuff.
Well, and that's why when Universal tried to do their stuff with The Mummy, and, you know, despite the fact that it was a Tom Cruise Mummy movie, and that sounds awful
that
after
was
Brendan
not
Fraser already
Mummy.
nailed it.
That was Mission Impossible 6.
Mummy not included.
Well, yeah, and
Mummy,
they
well, barely.
tied it into their Dracula
Yeah.
that had come out, I don't know, a year or two before. And the goal was to resurrect the old Universal monster universe.
Right.
Where, yeah,
Dracula,
Frankenstein, Dracula, the Mummy,
right,
Wolfman,
right.
all of that stuff.
So
in
what
the
they
same
do?
universe.
They did not let a super fan write that script and direct that movie. They let the artist, the
And-
star, do it. And it.
So I am a huge DC fan. I grew up on the comics. I grew up watching Teen Titans when it was a, you know, cartoon TV show. I grew up on the cusp of like Justice League Unlimited and all the animated stuff. And so I grew up with a lot of that. And it's very interesting to me to sit back and compare the two of, you know, how Marvel's gone about making a very successful franchise that has revolutionized at least the movie market itself, and then DC saying, oh, cool, let's take our storylines that are pretty big and popular and just make them into movies ish, instead of looking at it the same way that Marvel did. Like, Marvel, one of the great things about them that has helped with casting a lot for these TV shows and movies now was they got the cast right the first time. When they had somebody who they wanted to play the character, someone who felt like the character, then they stepped into that role. Now, Marvel does have a few hit or miss characters that step in and just do not embody the character at all. But DC, when they saw it, and they just didn't get the right people to play the right characters. They couldn't portray them in a way that Marvel characters could. So they were always one up.
Which characters are you disenchanted with?
Naturally, I think the first one that comes to mind is Brie Larson, Captain Marvel. That tends to be a pretty go-to. But I am not a huge fan of a lot of like the villains or a lot of the kind of more side characters. For instance, with the latest Doctor Strange, I like America as a character, and I think she was okay, and I think the actress portrayed her well. But when comparing her to someone like Ned from the Spider-Man movies, where Ned has more of a presence and he doesn't have a lot of screen time, but he feels like a character that's kind of integral. America, it's because of how Sam Raimi went about it, was kind of making it more of a Scarlet Witch and Doctor Strange movie, as opposed to America. America was more of the MacGuffin for the movie, which kind of took away a part of her character because she didn't get as strong of character development as Scarlet Witch.
And then what about DC?
Oh God,
yeah.
I have yet to see a Batman I enjoy, because sometimes they nail the Batman, but miss the Bruce Wayne. Sometimes they miss the Bruce Wayne, sometimes they miss the Batman and nail the Bruce Wayne, and that's where you run into an issue because DC doesn't care about getting the character right the first time, which is why we've seen the third Batman in 10 years, or third person to play Batman in 10 years ish. Christopher Nolan, Batfleck.
Well, and there's rumors that they're still going to do Justice League stuff with Affleck, and it's like, wait. So
like
now,
I don't know. I think he did a good Bruce Wayne for being older, an older Bruce Wayne. I'm like, okay, kind of harkens back to the comic or cartoon series. You're like, okay, kind of, but then his Batman was just like, oh, Jesus.
Well, you kind of run into this issue of you have these characters, and you have the first meeting of the Justice League. You don't want to start the Avengers with Robert Downey Jr.'s Iron Man being 60, 70 years old, and he's the one who brought everyone together. Yeah. Same thing for Justice League. You don't want Batman or Superman to step in, and they've already been a superhero for 60 years or whatever, and then because then the characters already learned and done a lot of their arc, and so they haven't actually, I'm sure they can help with other character arcs, but as the other members of the league go about their stories and becoming the heroes that they eventually become, you just miss a part of it. Like the friendship between Batman and Superman is still there, but it's not quite as strong.
They only got the
20-year-old males.
The only thing they got was the contention. Batman's fear of his superpowers. That's all you get from that movie. Like, that's the whole movie. Of course,
the super cheesy Martha.
And
it's like,
Martha.
Okay.
It hurts.
All right.
Martha.
We're going with that. Like, that's going to be the...
We're gonna say
okay, we'll be friends now because our moms have the same name. Also, it goes back to how lazy are comic book writers, because that was totally from the comics. They're both named fucking Martha. Like, they didn't come up with that for the movie. Yeah. What's a good mom name in the 30s? Someone went Martha. That's a good mom name.
Perfect mom.
Okay, who cares that both Batman and Superman's mom's name is Martha?
Yeah, I'm gonna jump back an hour and to say Keys is totally right. They did fuck up with Firefly. In my old age, my old Bruce Wayne Gray. Yeah, the old man Logan moment here. I think they did fuck up with Firefly, and at the same time, I'm sitting here going, it was the perfect thing that could have happened. Get one season in a movie.
Yeah. you know.
I mean, it completed character arcs really well, especially for the characters that didn't make it to the end of the movie. Like what they had learned from the TV show transferred over to the movie really well, and eventually led to some really good stories.
Yeah, I really hope they don't reboot. They're like, oh, we're gonna reboot Firefly. I'm like, stop.
Nathan Fillion is very happy on the Rookie.
Yeah, he's doing all right.
We,
I had to wait. I had to do
somewhere.
two things. I had to wait like 10 years to watch Stargate SG-1 because I could not see MacGyver, running around with a gun.
There's a great
all the behind the scenes.
There's some great outtakes where like characters, actors are like, I'm with fucking MacGyver and we can't get out of this, and he's like, come on. You just ruined a take for that for a shitty joke.
Yeah, he's not happy about the whole MacGyver thing. What was the other one? Oh, I just now started watching Castle.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. So I dig it. I just had to wait long enough to disengage, the way I feel about Nathan Fillion and being Captain Mal and what was that? Dr. Horrible's fucking that music.
Captain Hammer.
That musical. Yeah. I had to wait. Just had to wait a while.
Castle is a good series, but it lost me after the second season because it went on for like 10 seasons or whatever. And, I learned some of the background drama of Nathan Fillion and, what happened with some of the actors. He wasn't a bad person, anyone. He just got married and then they got divorced. And by the last season, it was like they couldn't even be on screen together or on the same set together.
Was that the
it
cop?
Was so bad. Yeah.
Really? Interesting.
Yeah. In real life, they did.
She's
you can't shit where you eat, man.
You can't do that.
Nope.
Don't shit where you eat, man. Don't ever bang somebody at work. Or marry somebody. Yeah. Don't ever.
Nathan Fillion learned his lesson.
Apparently, don't ever throw it. Yeah, it's in the first scene of The Rookie. Trevor hasn't seen it.
I haven't, but I don't know. But then there are people that make it work. Like back to Deep Space Nine. I'll always forget his name. The guy that plays Bashir and Nana Visitor, who played the Major.
Yeah.
They were married for a good portion of that series, got divorced, and just fucking
went to work,
plowed through, and did their jobs.
Yeah,
didn't let any of that shit creep in.
That's what you do.
So, well, before we go, I definitely want to get make sure that our audience is aware of the we mentioned it kind of at the top, but the men's mental health documentary that you got on your YouTube channel. I wanted to talk about that for sure before we leave, because that was the impetus for you hitting us up, and we've kind of just meandered through all kinds of nerd shit.
See how I do it? Derail. I'm worse than Craig Ferguson's interviews.
So yeah, definitely tell us about that.
Yeah, I'll just kind of give you like the making of story. So it's my final semester of college. I've got an internship at a really awesome place that actually treats me like a person and is not just some intern, go get coffee, go do this. And I had a class that was called the Senior Year Internship Seminar, which actually had nothing to do with your internship whatsoever. They just called it that. And you were supposed to basically do a giant Eagle Scout project, some community outreach project, and do it over the course of the semester. So I said, I have no interest in doing that. I don't want to go make park benches or any of that. I'm far too focused on working on my skills to get better for my career field. And so I approached the professor and said, hey, my internship will let me use these resources to make a mini documentary, and I'll post it on YouTube and post about it and tell people about it, and it will that'll be my community outreach. That's how that'll work. And it's about 5 minutes long. So I get approval from the professor. I go to the internship and say, hey, by the way, asking for forgiveness, can I use your stuff to make a mini documentary about men's mental health? And they were like, absolutely, we're going to help you do it. We're going to provide the equipment. We'll give you the studio space. We'll give you all of that. And we'll let you edit on our computers. So I spent about 2 days working on the script, doing research, and had a lot of different things. The first couple scripts were really statistical, and I was just throwing out numbers at people. Statistics can be powerful, but when all you're doing is saying, yeah, 70%, 85%, it turns out that 13%, 16%, that's not exciting. Nobody wants to hear that. And it's not a good story either, because ultimately we're humans, and the thing that we want to hear are stories. And so I did some reworking and eventually got it to the script that it is now. I recorded it with one of the other interns and 3 other people, the president of the company, the producer and kind of set manager, and a videographer, video editor. And did all that, edited it, posted it, and from there it kind of sat. I got an A+ on the project. I was happy. Everything was great. But my dad has always been my number one supporter, and he ended up showing it to some health seminar, because May is Mental Health Awareness Month, that his company was doing. And the person in charge really liked it. And so they showed it to the entire seminar of a couple hundred people. And about a week later, my quotes were on the internal company newsletter. And here I am now discussing it with, 2 strangers over the internet. So I'm a little bit surprised how far it's gone, but also it's a message that absolutely needs to be out there for anyone's mental health, but especially for men, because the ultimate message is it's okay to not be okay. It's okay to share emotions and feelings and be yourself. And if your emotions and feelings are going out and lifting and getting buff and feeling great about the power from that, then that's the thing to do. Ultimately, you want to live your life being the best person you can be. What's the point to living life if you're not enjoying life? You got to live happy. Find the little things in life and go from there, which I know is very stereotypical, and you hear that all the time when it comes to mental health. But it is something that's equally important to just, at any moment of the day, take a step back and go, how am I feeling right now? I'm feeling pretty good. I'm vibing. I'm liking this TV show. Why do I like it? Oh, I like the way this actor portrays this character. Yeah, I find him kind of inspiring. I like this character a lot. There you go. A positive moment of your day that's a little bit more memorable.
Well, and I think stuff like this is very important, especially in the age where we're kind of bombarded with, terminology like toxic masculinity.
It's the best kind.
Yeah.
There is an element of it, especially if you're looking in the wrong places. I was going to say the right places, but I guess the wrong places. There's an element of, how dare you be a straight white man, or you know what I mean? Whatever the whatever if you go on any spaces that use the kind of oppressor and oppressed,
the prevailing oppressor
terminology is, if you look like the oppressor, it's like, whoa.
Yeah.
So
that's something I've always kind of taken issue with. Is I'm very much so an individualist. At the end of the day, I care about you for you and who you are, what you represent, everything about you. If you are a straight white male, if you are a gay black woman, if you are that stuff to me is very minuscule on the list of reasons why I should care about someone. Like if somebody's going through mental health issues and they reach out to me and they say, hey, I just need to talk with you, or I need to go out. We need to go to a bar and have a beer. I don't want to talk about it. I just want to be there. Those are the type of people I care about. It doesn't matter. I'm a straight white male who makes stories, and I tell stories that are difficult stories. I have perspectives that are not common, even for whatever political side you believe in. My beliefs probably go against either side. And that's the thing, is all of those attributes about myself come together to make me. And at my core, I don't believe I'm a bad person. I don't believe I'm someone who, is an oppressor who goes out and actively looks to harm people or passively looks to harm people. I'm somebody who in my everyday life understands that sometimes I hurt and sometimes every human on the planet can be hurting. And, we're all in this together, as corny as it sounds. Like,
well, and that's
got to treat someone like a human.
That's another piece of the message from the movie. And again, it's like you mentioned, it's only 5 minutes long. I watched it earlier. But a really good takeaway is there's a lot of pressure to fit into a box, whatever that box is.
Yeah.
And you
are your job.
You don't have to.
Yeah.
You don't have to.
No.
You don't have to jam yourself into the software engineer box. You don't have to jam yourself into the, I'm a lame dad box. You don't have to jam yourself into the, pick any of them, any of the expectations.
Something that's important. Go ahead.
If you want to, fucking get in that box.
Sure, yeah.
And run with it.
If that's where you're happy, then climb on in.
You want to be that the lame dad that mows the lawn and raises kids and goes to work every day and is married for 45 years and retires to, the Hamptons.
I'm on my way.
Do it.
Well, maybe not the Hamptons. I don't like New York.
I'm just saying. Yeah.
But no, and it's true. That's something I point out is in the video is that there are all these boxes, and sometimes people just need to break free. Like for me, I did 2 years of community college. I did it online. I hated going in and listening to professors talk because a lot of the times they derailed or they didn't do anything helpful for me. I'm somebody who is a self-made man. I've taught myself. I've done everything myself. And then when I got to college, or I got to my 4-year college, COVID hit. But after we were allowed to come back to classes, I was sitting there kind of going, I've taught myself everything up until this point. I don't really need this. And so I have gone against the grain in every decision I've done. Like I founded my own company a week before college was even over. And this is what I'm doing for a living less than a month after graduating college. Most of my friends are looking for jobs or never went to college or went to community college and are managers or, a lot of those types of things. And there's nothing wrong with that because that's the life decisions that they made. And as long as they're happy with where they are and who they are, it's what matters. It doesn't matter if I'm a college graduate, therefore I'm smart because I've gone to 4 years of school or something like that. The boxes, the labels, at the end of the day, it's just something to help bring you down mentally. Sometimes it helps bring you up because I like to say I am a self-made man. That's a good label, at least in my own mind, to put on myself. But when other people label you, it tends to be like, oh, well, no, hold on, stop talking. You're a Christian. You can't talk about that. Oh, you're an atheist. What do you know about religion? And I don't know why I just immediately went to religion, but
it's the easy one to draw parallels from. I will say this. I'm digging your whole thing, man. Like, especially when you talk about the self-made man, and like God knows I've been doing that for 25 years. So
yeah,
my own companies. My only advice, given to you or not, however you take it, is continued learning from a professional.
Oh yeah.
It doesn't have to be school. My favorite for me that works for me is I'll quit doing my thing and I'll go work for somebody else that I feel like they do it way better than I do, or they do something that is far better than how I know how to do it, and I go work with them for a while or with them for a while until I've gleaned what I need to up my skill set, and then back to what I was doing. That has been very helpful over the years.
Yeah, I should clarify. When it came to college, I was that way. When it came to like the internship, the first day of the internship, I had introduced myself to everyone in the company, and I had spent at least half an hour with each of them learning their personal stories and their career stories of how they came to be where they are. And one of the things I always say is I will never be perfect, but I will get as close as I can by the time I die. Like, I want to learn from everyone I can who knows more than me, who has better skills than I do, who in any way can shape me into becoming a better person. I will be, right by their side and writing down like anything I can. Nothing is above my head. Nothing is below me. Nothing is any of that stuff. I just want to be the best person I can because I'm living life. I'm liking it. Got a lot more to learn.
All right. Well, finally, before we take off, let the people know where they can find you and your stuff, your services, because you don't just do the podcast thing. As I've seen from your website that I was having a look at, you offer a lot more services than just being entertained by a podcast.
Yeah. So ultimately, it's about storytelling for me. I want to create my own stories, but more importantly, I want to help you tell your stories. So I do podcasting. I do short films like we just discussed. I released an album, which, next one's going to be even better. EQ was far too high on that album, but that's the point of why we do it. And also, I do podcast editing, video editing, such as video podcast editing, graphics and motion design. I spent about 3 hours today making a 30-second Mario knockoff video for a client. Not sure why they wanted it, but they wanted it, and it looked pretty good at the end. I also do, if you're in the Columbus, Ohio area, I do live event stuff. So I did a wedding this past weekend. I also do grad photos, photography of any sort, videography of any sort. I also have equipment to be able... Yes! This is what I've been dying for, finally. I also have treatment and studio space and can call in a whole bunch of favors to be able to record music and help you produce music, and also podcasting. I'm in the process of making a podcast network, and so people who are interested in setting up a podcast or don't really understand the industry or any of that stuff, then I'm also a creative consultant. I will help sit down, get the ideas for your podcast, help you funnel them out into your first 3 to 6 episodes, and I'll edit it, I'll mix and master it, and I'll help you put it out there, maybe even do social media, whole 9 yards. I've taught myself over these years, but I've also learned from professionals, and anything digital at this point I just love doing. Yeah, that's kind of the main thing. When it comes to contacting me, you can contact me at retrospectionmultimedia.com, which is a very, very long name. Or you can do retrospectionradio@gmail.com. But probably the best way to reach out to me would be going to Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, Reddit, if you want to, and just finding Retrospection Radio or Retrospection Multimedia. If you search either of them, it shows up, and you can send me a message. You can like and follow. If you forget website or email information, you can easily find that on all of my social medias too.
All right, man. Well,
there'll be a link here, I'm sure.
Absolutely. And thanks for hanging out with us, talking about some nerd shit and some men's mental health, and it was a blast.
I want to hit you up on the twatters, man. We'll talk gear. I collect preamps and microphones and guitars and guitar amps. Yeah, that's why I'm divorced. I got a lot of toys.
That is one other thing I do want to add is mental health. I'm not a professional. I'm not any of that when it comes to the mental health field, but I am somebody who likes to listen and offer advice and help where I can. So if there is a pressing issue where you feel that you can't go to anyone else in your life, feel free to send an email or a message to Retrospection Radio stuff, and we'll try and talk and help you out in whatever way you can, because you're not in this alone. Sometimes as a man, I know it's hard to go out and talk to people and say, here are my emotions. This is, I don't like the way you looked at me the other day. I think it was rude, or, I've been filled with anger because of it, but I won't show it, or any of that. Really important to talk. And I'm always out here to talk and try and help out anyone I can.
All right, man. Well, thanks for hanging out with us, and yeah,
it's been a pleasure.
It was a great talk. So
good to meet you, Noah.
It's nice to meet you too.
Right.
Have a good evening.
Yeah, you too. Yeah, Noah Martin.
That was a cool dude.
Pretty impressive young man.
No shit. Like way ahead of the curve, man. Way ahead of the curve. He's gonna do all right. As long as he doesn't burn out.
Well, yeah.
I got all these irons in the fire. So we have an old saying here on Man Tools. There's the young bull who tells the old bull, "Hey, let's run down that hill and fuck all them heifers." Then there's the old bull who says, "How about we walk down there and then fuck all them heifers?"
They're still gonna be there.
Still gonna be there.
Just leisurely grazing.
There's some sage wisdom in that.
Yeah. Yep.
Well, speaking of sage wisdom, we should probably let these fine people hear from our sponsors.
We should, yes. If I find the correct scene. There it is.
So on my way over here, my brakes made an awful noise. And the last time I got them done, it was so expensive.
You should go to EXO AutoWorks. They did a great job on mine and it was way cheaper than anywhere else I've been.
That sounds great. I need to get their number from you.
At EXO AutoWorks, we offer the best price on brake service in town. We include brand new brake pads, rotors, and hardware, which saves you money and gets you on the road faster. See our website for a full list of our services. Call EXO AutoWorks today.
I take the booster with me everywhere.
Order online now at thebeardstruggle.com. Use the code TLANE15 for 15% off your order.
Come to his men in the gutter, spinning right through the heel.
The first on the flank, get it started. Get fired at his flank.
Hey.
Ho ho. Ha ha. Hee hee.
All right. Well, this week in history, let's see, May 19th, 1780, near total darkness descends on New England at noon. No explanation is ever found.
That's bullshit.
And this is in the midst of, the Revolutionary War and all kinds of fun stuff happening. Just poof. Noon, it goes dark.
No, sir. Didn't happen. Did it? I wasn't there.
I wasn't either.
Okay.
I mean, and for all we know, this is all bullshit media conspiracy nonsense that,
Why we have our disclaimer.
Oh, that's going away, by the way. Did you hear about that?
No.
The disinformation board has been paused, and the Professor Umbridge lady tendered her resignation.
You think?
So,
wow.
Yeah. Yeah. So let's see.
Well, we can't all drive Volvos.
No. May 20th, 1951. During the Korean War, U.S. Air Force Captain James Habara becomes the first ace using a jet as his aircraft. So.
Okay.
And apparently his nickname was the Kid.
Yep, that's the Kid.
Let's see, May 21st, 1506.
Going back a bit.
Christopher Columbus, the first non-Viking white guy to come to the New World.
That never touched the actual continent. Right?
Yep.
Okay.
landed in what is now Haiti and the Dominican Republic, if I'm correct. I think the island's called Española because he named it after the people that paid for him to get there.
Was in the charter.
Anyways, yeah, 1506. So about 15 years after he took off the first time. So,
what did he do?
Sailed the ocean blue.
There it is. We're rappers.
Let's see, May 22nd, 1939, Adolf Hitler and Benito Mussolini signed the Pact of Steel, forming the Axis powers. And all I got to say is, I'm for the most part German and Italian, and spectacular things happen when Germans and Italians get together. They're not always good, but they're spectacular.
Did you hear what NATO was telling Germany?
Now?
Yeah.
No.
All right, here's what we want you to do. We want you to get an army together. We want you to
go to Poland.
Skip over Poland and attack Russians. Germany's like, are you sure? Well, I mean, we're pretty good at that. We've done that before. We have permission now?
I'm not sure about the skipping over Poland part. We've never tried it that way.
We never tried it that way. No, just roll through Poland.
They'll be fine with it. Honest.
No one will have flashbacks.
No. Let's see. May 23rd, 1934. Gangster couple Bonnie Parker and Clyde Barrow are gunned down by the Texas Rangers in their car. That's kind of what's left of it. You can see Bonnie there in the front. I'm not sure what remains of Clyde is, but he must have climbed out of the car. I don't know.
Fell out the side, whatever.
I'm not sure why the window's covered either, because everybody's seeing what's going on already. So I don't know. Anyways, let's see. May 24th, 1844. Samuel Morse.
Founder of the Neil Morse Band?
No, that would be Neil Morse. But Samuel Morse taps out the very first telegraph message using the code that he developed. So that's Morse code.
Right.
He's like, I'm the first guy using this, so I get to decide. Okay. Here's the code.
Fun fact. You've been to the studio, right?
Your studio?
Yeah.
Yes. Yeah.
You see all the slats on the wall, right?
Uh-huh.
Humans don't do random.
Correct.
We just don't.
Yeah.
Do it patterns. And
even if you try, it doesn't come out random.
It doesn't come out random. So all those slats are Morse code. Yup.
I'll have to refresh my memory on Morse code and see if I can decipher the message.
Yeah, see, there's 1, 2, 3, 4 of them.
Okay.
Yeah, those slat
all
walls.
Right. Well, let's see, May 25th, 1953, the first atomic cannon is fired, which sounds kind of misleading. The cannon itself was not like nuclear powered. The cannon fired nuclear ammunition. Still just as frightening.
That's horrible.
Uh-huh.
It's like, that's freaking horrible. Why would you carry that around with you? So many soldiers lost their ball sacks to that one.
Yeah.
Testicular cancer, just carrying those around.
Ooh, yeah.
That's horrible.
And that has brought us to the end of our week in his history and the end of our show. Oh, I clicked the wrong button. Click the wrong button.
It's been, you took last week off. You were sick. You're out of practice.
Yeah. The moral of the story is that I should never have a week off.
That's right. That's right.
Oh, I can't mess with that.
No, we'll just get out of here.
All right, well, that's fine. We'll just jump to it.
You're hilarious. Everybody, thank you so much for watching and or listening. Thank you to our sponsors, EXO AutoWorks, Enharmonic Studios, Crafts by Carolyn Lane, and The Beard Struggle. Get 15% off by entering the code TLANE15.
That's correct.
TLANE15. Look as Beardy McBearderson as this beardy motherfucker right here.
As nice as this.
Yeah. I still want to see on Man Tools a bearded shower video of Trevor. The way they do them on the Beard Struggle commercials.
I made one of those for Instagram once.
Yeah, we need to see it.
Like, make another one.
Like 10 chicks all going,
oh, one of those. Yeah,
I
don't know about that. I don't know if my wife will be okay with that one.
Hell, she'd direct it.
Oh, maybe.
Again, thank you for watching and or listening wherever you take a dump or drive your car and listen to podcasts. We're on the web at mantoolsmedia.com. We're on the social medias at links.co/mantoolsmedia. And lastly, not leastly, please like, subscribe, share, rate, review. We need our YouTube pumped up still. That'd be helpful. Thank you. You can go to ratethispodcast.com/mantools and rate it.
That's right. And of course, check out retrospection.multimedia.com. And members only. Our Samson the Simp video is out. We'll probably next week, since it's the last week of the month. I guess that's when we'll have to make it. Next week we should get the members only content for this month taken care of. So
get that sorted
I don't know
out.
What that's going to be yet, but I have a week to figure it out.
Yeah, well, you know what we'll do? We'll put up a maybe we'll put up a what are those things called?
A poll?
Oh yeah.
Put a couple topics and go, hey, what do you want us to talk about?
Yep.
Okay, we can do that.
I knew you knew what a poll was.
Yeah. Very familiar.
Wow.
Spent a lot of time throwing dollars at one.
Wow. Well, mama's got to eat.
That's right. Yeah. So.
Yeah. Thanks again, guys. We will check you out next week.
That's right. Good night, everybody.